Hi everyone. Today I am listening to a band which I just looked at the title and I looked at Vlad. I said, really? Who came up with that name? So I guess I'm back to the one of the first things that I noticed early in my journey is all the crazy band names that people come up with. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. The Bad Seeds. Maybe it's because it's spring and I am planting a little garden, but somehow when I think of the bad seeds, I think of some seeds that simply aren't going to grow, which is really kind of a bad name to name a band, don't you think? Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds are an Australian rock band formed in 1983 by vocalist Nick Cave, pretty self-explanatory, multi-instrumentalist Mick Harvey, have I heard that name before? And guitarist, vocalist Blixa Bargeld. Okay, now, is that a male or female? I'm tending towards female, but I could be wrong. Described as one of the most original and celebrated bands of the post-punk and alternative rock eras in the 80s and onward, they have released 17 studio albums and completed numerous international tours. Do You Love Me was released as a single on the 28th of March 1994 and won an APRA Music Award in the same year for the Songwriter of the Year, Nick Cave. Australian Bad Seeds. Let's see what it sounds like. So, I don't think that I would have been able to say it's this type of rock or that type of rock, but I can certainly tell you from the very first beat in the first bar, I knew that this was more modern, more recent rock sound. It just has that, well, I guess it was 90s, huh? Noise. I kind of like the way this guitar, strummed guitar, has this bit of a dramatic drum that's being put in here. It's not really strongly voiced volume-wise, but I notice it. It has a bit of a kind of a dramatic entrance feeling. Drum, and then stuff going on, and then drum, and then stuff going on. Drum. It really grabbed my attention. And then there was something which sounded like somebody's voice, but I couldn't make out if it had any words or if it was just a bit of humming. Now we're actually starting the verse. That was interesting. Hearing his voice enter and it's more speaking than singing. Just a little bit of pitch variation, kind of speaking style. And as I was listening, I was thinking, he sounds like the pitch needs to be raised up a little bit. He sounds like he's singing a little bit too low for his vocal range. It feels like he's running out of resonance down there and projection. And I wasn't sure what the point of it was, but it went on and on through most of the verse like that. And then finally, we got to the line where the harmony shifted up a little bit, and it was such a relief. And I suddenly realized this is intentionally done. You feel like you're too low, not you're not able to project your voice, you're down low, and then suddenly when the music lifts just enough that you can sing out a bit more, it has a really arresting effect on our ears because we suddenly feel like, okay, it's lifting up. There's a bit of life coming into it. Listen to this little bit here again. And it's just a tiny little half step, isn't it? But the shift in the instruments underneath really helps us to feel like that is an important moment. And then, of course, the chorus comes in after that and everything fills out a bit, as well as returning back downwards. The chorus carries us back down. Sometimes I comment in a piece of music on how the melodic line or something in the music follows or seems inspired by the natural rise and fall of speech. And because this one is so tending towards a speech style of singing, it stands out to me a lot that when we come to the question, the one question in the piece, do you love me? It's not asking, do you love me? Do you love me? We don't hear the rise at the end. It's, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? And it goes lower and lower, and it's such a the opposite from what we would normally say. Do you love me? 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 It really changes the tone of the question, doesn't it? And this is it's sounding very intentionally set. And so it's something that is worth noticing in this music, because you don't just write a piece of music with a monotone lyrical line simply because you're uninspired, you can't think of anything. You write it that way because you intend it to be that way. And so when you have a question, the only question in the piece of music where you might have the opportunity to rise and you don't, you place it, do you love me? Then it is good for us to notice that, because it will have a bearing on how the music, on what is communicated through the music. I love you. Oh, that's the end. I wasn't even following the progress bar. I was just listening to this repetition of the question and considering how does this music, along with the lyrics, how does it come together? And suddenly, bang, I'm at the end. Wow, okay. A bit of a surprise there, especially after all of that repetition and kind of a monotone setting of the lyrics. Well, being that this is from the 90s, I can't say that I'm terribly surprised by this monotone, kind of depressed sounding piece of music, although it's from Australia, and I haven't listened to a ton of music from Australia. I did listen to Caligula's Horse, though, but this has a different sound to it. It reminds me more of something like Black Hole Sun or Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit or some of those others, but especially I'm thinking of Black Hole Sun right now, or even there was Creep. There, I forget which band it was, but Radiohead. It reminds me of those in its general kind of attitude projection and the atmosphere that comes around it. It's kind of down and dull, intentionally so. And as I read through the lyrics, well, by now you know me and my personality. I would look at these lyrics and think, oh, there's lots of room for all kinds of excitement. I found her on a night of fire and noise. Wild bells rang in a wild sky. Well, that's bringing, kind of sending us to the New Year anthem, Ring Out Wild Bells, isn't it? So, and a night of fire and noise, New Year's night with fireworks and the bells ringing and all of that. I knew from that moment on I'd love her till the day that I died. I kissed away 1,000 tears, my lady of the various sorrows. Already we're getting Some begged, some borrowed, some stolen, some kept safe for tomorrow. That line almost reminds me of the little tradition, wedding tradition. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. Has the same sort of ring to it. Some begged, some borrowed, some stolen, some kept safe for tomorrow. And it's playing with this idea of bells. Wild bells, New Year's Eve. And then the bells from the chapel went jingle jangle, clearly the wedding bells. As I'm reading this, you can hear how much spark and fire I find in the ideas and the language of the lyrics. And then to set it in such a monotone, uninterested, depressed manner gives it a particular feel, doesn't it? It's not a feel that I love. I'll just come right out and say it. I don't love it. I don't enjoy it. But at the same time, there is a specific reason that it's set that way. And I think that it's okay. I don't know if this would be classed as grunge. It's Australia. It's not the Northwest. So I don't know. But still, it has some similarities, doesn't it? And surely there must have been some cross-pollination of stylistic tendencies. But I think it's more than just the default trendy style of the day. I really do. I think that what this does is it projects the feelings of the person, the emotion of the person who is telling this story, reciting this story. After this story is all over with in real life, it doesn't tell us outright that they broke up. But at the end, the last verse, I knew before I met her that I would lose her. And crazy bracelets on her wrists and ankles, and the bells from the chapel went jingle jangle. I don't think that was the bells for their wedding. I think that was bells from the chapel, something else. Either a funeral or another wedding for her. And it's not clear in the lyrics, at least not to me, which one it is. But clearly he's lost her. And it is his feelings of lifelessness, having lost this one who brought such fire and passion and craziness into his life, but such life into his life as well. And that's how it strikes me on this first listen. It's not a piece of music that I love, but I can certainly clearly see a sense and reason and design to setting it this way. And I can appreciate that. And well, this would be an interesting one. It's probably not one that you find a lot of covers to, but it would be an interesting one to see various bands cover and interpret, perhaps even recreate a new kind of music for it, and see what they do simply with the lyrics, just because I think there's a lot of opportunity for interpreting and communicating the lyrical content in many different ways. Well, there we have Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And having listened to this, was this a bad seed? Well, bad seeds don't sprout. This one sprouted. It even grew a bit, but apparently it died before it reached maturity. So I don't think I can call it a bad seed song, although it was by the Bad Seeds. Just a little fun with the name. I'll see you soon.